All right.
Do you have any more practice test problems?
I don't think so. 8.1, multiplying and dividing rational expressions. So first thing, for what value is the expression undefined? So what does that mean if it's undefined?
It has no value.
It has a denominator that is zero. Okay. So if I take the denominator and I set it equal to 0 and solve. So what can I take out of 9? I could take out a 9, and then I'm left with y squared minus 9. And what about y squared minus 9? Into y minus 3, y plus 3. So remember the difference of squares, you get 1 plus, 1 minus. Okay, so for what values is it?
Undefined is 3 and something divided by 0.
Yeah, so it's going to be, where is it undefined? At 0 and plus or minus 3. Okay. Because if I plug in any of those values into the function, I'm going to get a 0 in the denominator. Right? And that's where it would be undefined. Questions?
So we don't have bonus today, right?
No.
So annoying. What do we have to do?
Simplifying radical expressions. Not radical, sorry, rational expressions. So when we look at fractions, right, what do we want to do? We want to simplify or take out the greatest common factor. So let's see. Yeah, what can I take out of? So I could take out so I could take the 9 goes into 27 3 times.
Yes.
Okay.
X. Subtract the X.
And right, so this is kind of a review where we're going to subtract the exponents. So I'm going to get x to the first power, or just x, and z to the second. Right, because the y's are going to cancel each other out. And that's it. Okay. For B, in the numerator I can't, well actually, can I cancel anything out right away? I could cancel out the y's. I'm going to leave the numerator alone, but how about the denominator? How can I factor that? Okay, so unfoil it. Okay, what multiplies together to give us a -6 combines to give us a -1?
Oh, 2 negative 2.
Yeah, which one has to be negative? The -3 plus 2. Okay, what can I cancel now? Y minus 3. Now, I don't have to multiply out when I'm done, okay? If you did, it's fine. If you wanted to make it 4y plus 16 in the top, I'm just going to tell you it's not necessary, so you can leave the answer. We're just going to have a quiz on this next Friday. Yeah. Okay, factoring out a -1. So if we have a subtraction of 2 values and then we switch it in the denominator, that's always going to give us -1. I'll give you an example. So let's just take 2 numbers, let's subtract them. So if I have 5 minus 3, and if I put 3 minus 5 on the bottom,
that's 1.
Is it 1?
-1.
-1, right? Because we get 2 over -2. So if they're not exactly the same with a subtract, so if they're flipped around with subtraction, then it's going to be a -1. Okay? All right, let's take a look. So first thing I want to do is factor this. What can I take out of a to the fourth b and 2a to the fourth.
2. You can take out
Right.
8.
I could take out a to the fourth, and I'm left with
B minus 2. Right? I mean,
just b minus 2. And what can I take out of the denominator? A to the third, and I'm left with
2 minus b2.
okay, so that means these are opposites, so that's going to give me a negative 1.
So is that -1?
So yeah, what's going to happen with the a to the fourth over a to
It's
the
just a.
It's just going to be a, so we get negative a. See? I told you, it's an easy lesson. It's not going to,
Just simplify.
it's just simplifying.
Alright, so for this one, you can take out A. Is there a homework tonight? And B. You can take out AB. AB times negative.
Well, hold on. If I take an a
A of those, B and a-
and a b out of this, I'm just going to be left with b,
with B.
right?
B minus 5.
Wait, is tomorrow's test the last class we have?
All right, 25 minus b, we can that's a difference of squares. So that's going to be
5 minus B.
5 minus b and 5 plus b. Okay, what do we notice?
B minus 5. Oh, yeah. that was
b minus
super
5 and 5 minus b will
They're
cancel to make that a negative
Negative 1.
1.
It would be on the negative one would be on the top, right?
Yeah, I generally just put it in the top. So that'll be a negative ab over 5 plus b. Okay. All right, multiplying and dividing rational expressions. So when we multiply, we just combine the numerators and we combine the denominators. What about when we divide? So if I have a divided by b and then divide that by c over d, do you remember some people call it keep, change, flip? So we keep the first one, a over b. We change the division to a multiplication, and we flip the second fraction. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's look at the first one. So there's 2 ways to do this. We can simplify before we multiply, or we can just multiply it to make this 8xy squared over 21 times 16, whatever that is, x cubed y to the third. Now there's a reason I didn't bother multiplying this out, and that's because I can actually cancel. You could have canceled before we had multiplied it, that's fine. What can we cancel with the whole numbers here? 8 goes into 16 2 times. So I'm going to have a 1 in the top. In the bottom, that's going to be 42. Now let's look at the variables. Okay, I have an x to the first over an x cubed. So what's that going to leave us with? X to the negative 2, which would just be x squared on the bottom. You can also just look at where's the bigger one. The bigger one's on the bottom, so that's where it's going to end up.
And then 1 y.
Where's the
I mean, part of the 1.
y to the first where? On the top or bottom?
Oh, yeah, on the bottom.
On the bottom. Wherever the bigger exponent is, that's where it's going to land. It's going to.
Is that it?
That's it. Okay, before I do anything, I'm going to rewrite this as 10mk squared. So I'm going to leave the first one, 3c squared d. And now I'm going to flip the second one. So that's going to be a 6c squared d squared.
You always wanted it.
Yeah, we always want to change the division into a multiplication.
Can you just cross multiply here?
So we can just, not cross multiply, but cross cancel.
Yeah.
You were probably thinking that, like, right? Like the 5 goes into the 10.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to skip the step of multiplying everything out and just start canceling and then multiplying, it just depends on what's easier for you because sometimes it's hard when all the variables are mixed together. But I'm fine if you do it all in one step. Do we have a preference?
It would be 2.
2mk.
Yeah, let's see. 5 goes into 10 2 times. What about the 3 and the 6? So 3 goes into 6 twice. So I know I'm going to have a 4 in the numerator. Okay. Should we do the m's next since we're here? So m here is in the top, m squared is on the bottom. So it'll be on the bottom, m to the first. I don't care the order of the letters either. I'm fine if you switch them around. It doesn't have to go in any order. Okay, we're done with the m's.
And then d to the first.
Okay. What about the k squared though?
Yeah, and then k.
Is there any k's
No.
to combine? So we'll just leave the k squared. Oh, what happens with c squared? Bless you. It's just going to cancel. And then we have a d
D to the 1.
on the top or bottom.
Top. No, top.
Bigger one is on top, so d to the first stays. Okay. All right, this one's already a multiplication, but what do we need to do? We're going to have to do some factoring. And I'm just going to make this all one big fraction. So I have k minus 3. What will 1 minus k squared give us?
K squared.
No, we got to factor it. Difference of squares. 1 plus k, 1 minus k. And then we have k plus 1. So again, it's multiplication, so I'm just going to combine all these multiplied together. What happens with the k squared minus 4k plus? Yep. So what 2 numbers multiplied to give us positive 3 add up to a negative 4? So that means I'm going to have to have a minus 3 and 1. All right. What can we cancel?
You can cancel out the
K minus 3, k minus 3.
and the 1 plus k.
And the 1 plus k and the
Oh,
k
yeah,
plus
you can
1.
cancel that.
Okay, everything cancels except what do we notice about these
It's the
two?
negative one.
They're opposite. Yeah, so they're going to cancel, but they're in when it's a subtraction, the plus is fine, right? These two are exactly the same. These two are exactly the same. It's just these two, one is swapped, so we get negative 1. Did I not bring them?
Oh, it's the homework.
Oh, here it is. Ah, it's, no, almost. Okay. Okay, what can I factor out of 2d plus 6?
Are we gonna switch them first?
We'll do it all at the same time. I can factor out a 2.
And does the D change to the? Oh no, that's cross.
And in the
Oh wait,
gen-
no, they flip it.
yeah, so I'm going to multiply this by
Yeah.
okay.
And then D 3 becomes 1, and then 2D plus 6 becomes 2. Right. D plus 3.
Okay, so if we flip this, what's this going to factor into? D plus 1, D plus 2. No.
No. Oh
Yes.
yeah, right. No.
So D plus 1 and D plus 2. Okay, now here, this is going to factor into D plus 2, D minus 1. And then we have a D plus 3 on the bottom. If you want to write that out in separate steps, if what I did was too confusing, you can do that. All right, let's see what cancels.
The D plus 2.
The D plus 2.
Oh, it's just negative 1. Oh, it's negative
How about the D plus 3 also? Okay, because this is plus and this is minus, we cannot cancel them. Nope. We're going to leave it as 2 times d plus 1 over d minus 1. If this was 1 minus d, or d minus 1, then we could do some more canceling. But just based on that, we can't. Okay, last thing. Okay, the next page is exactly the same as what we just did. We're dividing by a fraction. So no, we're taking 1/2 and dividing by 4/5. But remember, this is just a fraction divided by a fraction. So we keep 1/2 multiplied by 5/4. So we flip the bottom one. So it's just going to be 5/8. Right? That's all you have to do. So here, take like this one, for example. I have x squared. Now, if you want to factor at the same time, you can. So I'm going to multiply by. Now we're going to flip this one. So we want 2y minus 3x and x cubed. What does this factor into? Just kind of save some space. Are those both perfect squares? 9x squared and
yes.
Okay, so it's going to be 2x plus 3y. Sorry, I did that backwards. 3x plus 2y and 3x minus 2y. What do we think? Okay, what are we going to be able to cancel? Come on.
We can cancel 2y minus 3x.
Yeah.
That makes it -1, right?
And this makes it a -1?
Yes.
Cool. What about the x squared and the x cubed?
That just turns into x.
That just turns into x to the first on the bottom. Okay. So what do I have left in the top? -1 over x times 3x plus 2y. You don't like the next one? Let me see.
Did the graphing calculators do matrix?
Okay, we don't need, let's not worry. We'll skip this one.
Yeah. It's either B or C.
Oh, it's either B or C.
I guess.
Okay. Which one? So volume is, so here we go. All right, so here's the volume. Which one of these could be the height?
Okay, so we plugging in answers here. And so let's see.
You did use all of them.
Like x could be right. Well, you don't are plugging in answers when they're not numerical order.
Okay, let's start with here. This is the diameter. So what would the radius be? X plus 3.
Radius is pi.
Are we just making guesses now?
Pi squared is
Pi r
that's
squared.
area of a circle.
Pi r squared is the area of the circle, and then you multiply by the height.
Can you factor out that expression?
Yes, we can.
You just drop this in the water to see how volume has.
So we're going to divide this.
Homework we do after
Barely
the
ever
shower
have to do
time.
math. All right, you can try like 3 things.
The homework we do after the shower time, so we don't have to do this while we're trying to study for the test.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm supposed to do this.
Okay.
Something completely different. and try to
Can we
study for the
factor
test.
this?
Why are we dividing by x?
Yeah.
Plus 3.
because we're dividing by the radius to figure out what's left over would be the height. So what's that give us? X minus 6. I'm factoring this part. X minus 6, X plus 3.
So can we try B and C? Oh yeah.
With the pi.
Yeah, B. So you could plug in answers to height. You don't
Okay,
need to-
so it can't be X plus 3 because that's R squared. So what are we left with? X minus 6. Okay, that's it.
I told